being said, I have no idea what compositions these guys are going to be pulling out in game number 1 of the blind pick on the Grand Arena.
What classes is Mystic playing lately?
I mean, he plays a Ret Paladin, a Warrior, but
Yeah.
I
Does he
think
play anything else?
I think he plays
his
Ellie.
main class in this team's got to be his Ellie, right? Because Ellie Mage Druid on the European meta at least is quite strong right now. But Mystic's such a wild card; he can bring out pretty much any class. So you do have this RMD from Kenitra Tigers of Chaz, of course, on the Resto Druid, actually playing the Disc Priest as well, and No Lifer, of course, famously known for his Mage. Akai Sushi on that Subtlety Rogue, never playing combat, so that's something to note about this team, is that we will see the Subtlety if we do see him, most likely. But yeah, you do have Mystic in that team, and having someone like that is just so awkward for the Yacht boys, because they can't ever really tell what comp they're going to fight, because Mystic's just such top level player on so many different classes that they can bring out the red, they can bring out the warrior, they can bring out the elemental, the enhanced. They have so many options here, so
it's a big deal.
This is definitely.
We saw that in NA with Goreki on Cloud9, but also Tempo Storm. Like, the teams that were competing against Goreki just didn't know what to expect, just because of the versatility of that one player of the team. It's a big deal. So I'm really excited to see what these guys are going to be pulling out here in game number 1. But taking a quick look at that bracket of what series this actually is, this is going to be the 3rd series of the upper bracket round 1. And then I'm not sure who we're going to see next right after that. We're just going to kind of play it by ear to see which teams are going to be available. But the winner of this team is going to go down to the lower bracket, but they're not going to be facing We Win Next if they lose this series. They're going to be facing the loser of No Ladder Players versus another one. So we still have a whole bunch of games in this tournament today, guys, and I can't wait to jump right into them. Game number 1, or match number 1, it was a real treat, man. The level of play between the RMP and the Turbo made some really close games. I mean, I think the 3-1 doesn't really reflect completely that series. But here we go. Game number 1 of the Yacht Boys and Kenitra Tigers has started, and we do see an RMD coming out from Kenitra Tigers, and the Yacht Boys are sticking with the Shadow Priest, Frost Mage, Holy Paladin compositions.
How do you like this matchup now in this season with Full Gear, Adrian? Because like typically we expect the Holy Paladin God comp to be advantaged historically. Do you think it's still that same kind of advantage?
Well, I mean, this Pala Shadow does have an RMD available to them as well. Thessia, of course, known for playing that rogue, and Miley, the Resto Druid. So they do have that option available to them, so they must feel confident in this Pala Shadow matchup. But I've always thought that the Subtlety rogue coming out from Akai Sushi does mean that they do have more options to shut down this Mage and Shadow. But I do feel like the Shadow play suddenly feel confident if they've gone in for this matchup rather than the RMD mirror. So we'll see if that confidence pays off. They're going to start up with the standard opener. Miley trying to get as many pre-hots onto his team as possible, whilst Frothy's trying to get the Mindseer. We do see the Blizzards. They're trying their best to get the RMD out, but this is no average RMD. They're going to be very careful. They're going to make sure they don't get caught, that they get this perfect opener. They're just sitting back right now, all 3 of them trying to push in slowly after this AoE comes out, but it does give Miley time to build up that shield. He should have a good 150k Mastery Shield sitting on Froth right now. And we're going to see who the RMD decides to open up on. Of course, they could open on the Mage or the Shadow Priest.
We can see Suchi moving forward. Doesn't look like he was able to get a sap. I think they got combat. Now Suchi's going to have to find an evacuation method for this opener from the God comp. The Yacht Boys, as they land the full fear out of the deep freeze. Looks like they're trying to pressure No Lifer. Suchi doing a good job to shut them down, though, with a gouge and a cheap shot. We see a full deep freeze on Miley. They connect the sheep. Good cross EC from Kenitra Tigers in return. Now Frosty in a 3v1 situation. Will they be able to force his dispersion out? The Sioux is actually choosing to shrink it out, but he misses his counterspell, and they follow it up with another sheep. Frosty in still a lot of trouble. He goes into the full blind. He trinkets his nothing, I think, because I think he broke the blind with Ice Nova, unfortunately. Miley, he's going to feel pretty good, though, that his trinket's on cooldown with blind, but despite that, they could have got a little bit more ahead. We see now trying to reverse the pressure onto Suchi, but landing that full Hodge and not really doing too much with it. No Lifer just line of sighting on the opposite side of the map, and Kenitra Tiger is definitely getting ahead here in the opening stages of this match.
Yeah, this looks really good for the RMD. The fair comes out, but again, they're not achieving too much. No Lifer was able to lost there. That was very important. And they do get the opener, but a nice pre-sacrifice coming out from Miley. They're actually swapping it up onto Thessia, and they force the block instantly. There was no shield proc available on him. The question is, are they going to start swapping onto Frosty, who does still have that sack on him? Once the sack runs out, we can maybe expect some damage onto him. But no, they get the cross CC instead. The clone's coming out onto Miley, the sheep's coming out onto Frosty. And Thessia is alone right now, but they do get the deep that stops the reclone, and the Aura Mastery comes out on that Frostjaw. So they are going to be able to stabilize for now, but another block forced down and the full sheep onto Chaz right now. Are they going to be able to cheap too much with this? They do the Hodge onto Sushi. He does have Cloak and Trinket available. It doesn't look like he's trying to use either of them. He's being very greedy right now. He does have that Cloak available, of course, should things go sour. And there is that Cloak of Shadows due to the silence on Chaz. But they're going to go offensive this surely. If they can get the kidney onto Froth and start getting their cross CC, they should be able to force another block or dispersion out. He's just sitting in stealth right now, Sushi, and the Ironbark comes out onto No Life. I want to see this RMD get offensive now. The Palace Shadow is just kind of sitting back, sitting behind the pillar. They know what's coming. The Gouge comes out onto Thessia, the Kidney onto Frosty. It looks like they're going on Thessia with this. If they can land the Deep Sheet, they do land it. And the Clone onto Frosty. Perfect cross CC coming out from this team again. The Dance coming out, the DFA coming out on the Blink. Well played there by Ake Suichi. And Thessia just smashes through his shield block, and that's going to be the second ice block. This looks so bad for the Palace Shadow right now, who are just getting cross CC'd into oblivion right now. The Sheep onto Frosty. The bomb comes out into the Cyclone. That's going to be the bubble. Is he going to die anyway? If they can get the Clone onto Thessia, but he's just dying through heals right now. They're not even going for it. The Wings comes out. This Palace Shadow needs to get some offensive CC going, and they need to do it now.
Yeah, it's looking very bad right now for the Yacht Boys. We see Sushi caught into a fist of justice, but Miley actually ate a full polymorph, a deep freeze on Frosty, a kidney shot over onto Thasia as they're swapping to him. He's going to trinket out of there. He gets life grip back to the pillar, but now they switch the clone up onto Frosty. Miley's still sitting through a polymorph. Luckily, he was able to get out of line of sight, though. They're going to follow it up with a full blind. He's choosing to trinket out of blind every time to try and stay alive here, and now Kenitra Tigers are just pulling back, getting ready for the next attack. They have Shadow Dance. They've got 2 blocks. They can basically use all their cooldowns aggressively because Miley has no way to get out of CC. And there's no blocks for Thasia. It's looking terrible for the Yacht Boys. The Kenitra Tigers would have to throw the game horribly right now, I think, to end up losing this. We see a setup, though, over onto Suchi, who does not have his trinket. That's their only opener. Chaz needs to save him on this. He's going to trinket, dispels him out. There's the Cloak of Shadows. Now Kenitra Tigers need to pull the trigger quickly. Kidney shot over onto Frosty. Deep freeze over onto Miley. Garosans onto Thasia. This is the triple CC that we need to see, but No Lifer gets the full sheep. He needs to keep this sheep chain going. Shadow Dance out onto Thasia. How is he going to make it out alive here? Frosty needs to support him a little bit here as his Saber of the Light is going to proc. They're just trying to burst him through it. A full clone now over onto Miley. Thasia trying to kite away. They should be able to finish him off. They need to keep the CC going onto Miley. They get him caught into a frost shot. Thasia blinking back to the wall into the half clone onto Miley, but he squeaked out a heal. Is that little tiny heal going to be enough? No, it is not. No Lifer going to finish him off himself with his Comet Storm, and Kenitra Tigers are going to take the game.
That was so close to him surviving there. They actually played that really good, that last swap, the Palace Shadow. They got the pre-sacrifice, which delayed No Life as Sheep. They actually got the CS onto Chaz as well, so there was no CC for a little bit. And also in between the clones, they were able to get that execution center, so it looked like they were maybe going to survive, but they were just so far behind.
Yeah, that was a really crazy game coming up from the Kenitra Tigers. Like, my first assumption when seeing this matchup is that, you know, the Shadowplay has that slight advantage over the RMD, but from start to finish, I felt the Kenitra Tigers really had a handle on the game. There was some setups onto that rogue, the Hodge into Horrify, but it feels like it only happened maybe 3 times, just not enough times for them to really get anything out of them. And game number 1 is going to go convincingly to Kenitra Tigers here. We're going to be jumping into game number 2 in a hot minute. But before we do that, the admin's going to communicate with them. They're going to get all the map choices as well as the composition choices of these teams, and I get a free minute to shout out all of the new homies. Of course, you guys know Asper subscribed. Thank you so much once again, Asper, for that subscription. Half has resubscribed for 2 months in a row. Thank you so much, Half, for that. Half and then an underscore. Kalandra. I mispronounced your name, Angie. Thank you so much for that subscription, though. I really do appreciate that support. Thank you so much, Hunter SSDS, for the subscription. And the 2-month resub coming out from Shadow Shoe CN. And we just got actually another 2-month resub from Malinky. Thank you so much, Malinky, for that 2-month in a row support. I love you guys. We are at 224 subs out of our 300 sub goal. And I'm sorry if I don't shout you out in real time as soon as you subscribe, but I promise I'll find an opportunity to do it sooner or later. But do you think that
really good?
Yeah, I was
that was really good juggling of CC from Kenitra Tigers, because they would break up CC from their mage, but then it would be followed up by a clone, and then he couldn't follow it up with a reclone, so they'd follow it up with a Frostjaw instead, and they were kind of juggling it between the two of them based on the stops that the Yacht Boys were using. And it was actually really impressive to see them juggle it like that, because typically you see like polymorph, Frostjaw. But in that chain, it was like polymorph, clone, Frostjaw, half clone, half polymorph. Like quarter, like it was each of them casting it on a different rotation than you would normally expect. And they're able to be in position to chain it and juggle it like that and take the game.
Yeah.
I think the cross CC from these guys was impeccable as well. Like every single time, like you say, if Chaz can land his clone, then No Lifer was there with the Frost Draw. If there was any lack of cover on the mage, and Sushi was there, he would always have a dance available or a vanish available. They always had something to make sure they got their triple CC. And actually, Chaz came out with some nice fakes. He faked a couple of the CSs from Thessia, which was very important when it came to CCing both targets, both Froth and Miley. But we saw they opened it up onto Froth and they were still able to kill Thessia so easily. They just weren't even close to dying. Like barely any cooldowns were forced out by the shadow play. So we'll have to see if the smaller map perhaps is going to give them an advantage. Maybe Frofsy thinks he can land a few more fears onto Chaz this game. They can get a little bit more pressure because No Lifer's running was really hurting them last game. So
No Lifer was
we'll see if
untouchable,
it works
really.
like that.
I would say No Lifer was basically untouchable in that last match. We can see a sap on Miley, cheap shot on Frosty. Frosty going to trigger out, lands a double fear. Thasia going to cross CC it with the deep freeze. He's looking for that ring of Frost. He does get stopped on it. Great stop. Actually, didn't actually end up getting stopped. No Lifer's sheep just a little bit too late. And now they land that full fist of justice onto Suchi to bring the pressure, bring the heat. He needs to be careful. He's going to trinket right at the last second and get his Cloak of Shadows rolling to prevent himself from dying here. But that Cloak of Shadows has faded. Now Chaz trying to pick him back up. But they're just swapping, tabbing over onto No Lifer, breaking him down to 40% and forcing the Iron Bark now out from Chaz. And this is a completely different God comp than we saw last game, getting a lot of cooldowns early on here. But here's the Shadow Dance out from Suchi, looking to try and force the Dispersion out from Frosty. He's going to have to trade it out for those cooldowns. They're going to clone him on the Dispersion. Great clone from Chaz here, the Resto Druid. Can he keep this clone going? It looks like they don't want to. They're actually just swapping the damage onto Thasia. Miley choosing to bop himself out of that blind as they cross CC Frosty with a Polymorph into another Polymorph over onto the Dispel and forcing the save by the Light Proc onto Thasia. And Kenitra Tigers are just striking everywhere and forcing cooldowns out from everyone.
Yeah, Chaz got a ton of nice offensive clones there on the DPS, getting a clone on the Disperse and a bunch of clones on Thessia as well, stopping their offensive push. And here it comes again, the Frost Jar onto Thessia as the Kidney comes onto Frosty, the Deep onto Miley. He does have to trinket that, but did he get CS there? No, he's just trying to fake the CS right now. Frosty is dropping low. If he does get CS, this could be the game. He gets a nice fear out. It looks like they want to swap it onto Akai Suichi, the full rub onto Chaz right now, but he doesn't have a cloak, but he does have a vanish. He does use the vanish there on 60%. We do see the DR sheep onto Chaz, but there's no fear to follow this up. There is a silence, but I don't think there's any point in him using it. A nice cyclone coming out from Chaz is going to get MD'd. Thessia back out of the CC, a sack onto the Frosty we see right now. They are aware that the RMD wants to go offensive here, but the RMD is just kind of chilling. Actually, the dance does come out from Suishi, and it looks like this is onto Frosty. There's no trinket available. This will be the bubble from Miley instantly. They do have a bop available. It looks like Frosty should be fine for now, but they're trying to get around onto Akai Suichi. A nice Iron Bar comes out, but they're going to swap it up onto No Lifer. The full silence, this is 100% a block. There is the ice block from No Lifer, nice and early. Doesn't want to take any risks there. And it looks like out of this ice block, there's not many cooldowns available for this shadow play. There is the trinket from Frosty. He's going to have to trinket and disarm the polymorph or something like that. Otherwise, there's going to be absolutely no way for them to survive. The RMD is just kind of pulling back. They want to pull Frosty out. They want him to be in position. They do have the smoke. Oh, they don't have the smoke bomb available. Sorry, they must have used it slightly recently. The restealth coming out from Akisuchi, and they're just kind of sitting back right now. They want to calculate and make sure they do get this next go.
Ooh, they prevent Suchi from going into stealth there, popping him up, but they land the full sheep over onto Miley. Frosty choosing to trinket out of this, trying to recover, but Suchi is just going ham at the moment here. They can't chain the polymorph though onto Miley. They're looking for a setup over onto Suchi. They've got him caught into that Horrify, into this full fist of justice. He has that trinket. He's just going to trade it out, play it safe at high health, keep his momentum for his team, maybe force the dispersion out from Frosty, but Frosty pushes forward, lands a full fear over onto Chaz. We see the bop out from Miley, trying to break himself out of CC to keep Frosty going here. They don't want to trade out the dispersion. As long as Frosty has that dispersion, he'll feel a lot more safe to push forward to try and end the game, but they still don't have Chaz's trinket. That's really the last line of defense for Suchi to survive. Seems like Thasia's just chopping out a lot of damage here at the moment onto Suchi. We can see a deep freeze over onto Chaz. There's the full fist of justice, and Chaz needs to respond to this. He trinkets out, he dispels it. Actually, he didn't dispel it in time. He NS'd him, and the NS was not enough. And Suchi is actually going to end up falling to a surprise attack from the Yacht boys. Just a lot of damage following it up. I guess he saw himself getting resheeped on his trinket. He thought the NS would be more than enough to keep him alive for the stun. I don't know if Sushi had a vanish or something, maybe potentially if he got dispelled. But that was just a lot of damage from the Yacht boys, and that's kind of how you expect the matchup to go, with lots of swaps onto the rogue, catching him in stuns and kind of bursting him down really quickly. So that's kind of how I expected the matchup to play, and I think the Yacht boys were just warming up in game one.
Yeah, I think that's a solid assumption. You know, looking at the level of play of the Yacht Boys in game number 2, it was a completely different matchup. But something to note at the very end there, to be able to land that CC, the mage from the Yacht Boys actually offensively blocked to stay in it and to stay and keep that CC chain going. But there you have it. It is tied up now 1-1 in this best of 5 series, and we're gonna be jumping into game number 3 soon. Whew.
Yeah, that was quite a close one. It looked like it looked similar to last game at the start, to be honest. I mean, they just have so much pressure into the shadow play. They force cooldowns out so easily, but they were able to kill through Chaz's trinket there. And actually, it comes back down to the purges, to be honest, because Ake Suichi was about 60% at the start of that go when he was put into the Hodge, and I think it was just the fact that they were just purging the HOTS, and Chaz could never really top him off. The RMD had to go offensive there or pull back behind the pillar. They kind of sat in the middle. Suichi was just therefore able to get purged, able to get damaged, and it meant that when the setup did come, there wasn't really a response from Chaz that could have saved him. Maybe he could have dispelled, but then again, if he dispels, he gets sin and punishment. If there's no vanish available, then Sushi dies anyways. Like, there's no win there for Chaz. It's a really awkward situation for him.
Do you think that it was the right decision for him earlier on to trinket in cloak right away on the Hodge? Or do you think that he should have waited to see it and like force them, you know, to invest a little bit of setup or damage into it? Because I like he was actually holding on to his trinketed cloak throughout the series on every setup, you know, trying to you know, at least force some damage and doing it at the very last second, even in the opener. But at the very end there, he actually decided to trinket as soon as the Hodge hit in cloak to kind of like stay high in health. Do you think that if he held on to it until like the last second, like he was earlier on in the game, that the setup that follow it wouldn't be as significant?
I certainly think there's dividends for being greedy in some of these games. We've seen a lot of teams using their cooldowns a little bit lower, trying to force out as many offensive cooldowns, as many damage buttons from the other team as possible in exchange for those defensive cooldowns. But this team's playing it very differently. We see the block from No Life coming out at about 50%. We see Sushi and Chaz being very decisive, instantly pressing those buttons before they drop low. But yeah, perhaps a little bit of greed would have paid off for Sushi there. Of course, Cloak, once he does press it, it does mean he's safe for a good 6 seconds.
This map pick's weird to me.
It is weird, yeah. I don't really
Especially since they didn't reset so much last game. I would expect a smaller map from them, but maybe they are going to go for those resets. They want to drag the shadow away from each other. We do see the sap onto Miley instantly, the cheap shot. They're going to go on Thessia this game, looks like, and I think that's the intelligent choice. They didn't really do it so much last game. It didn't work out for them. But he almost dies instantly. He trinkets CS's, but he misses it, and that will force the ice block. He's going to MD the DR sheep. They look like they need to go offensive now, but Chaz, he melds. That's such a good meld from Chaz. It means they can't get the deep freeze. There's no CC available for him. He's just sitting there in stealth. He now comes out of the Cyclone to land that Cyclone onto Thessia. That's very, very good from him. If he can get the Recyclone, just follow it up, they're going to get the deep freeze back, and they're just going to keep him low. He's down on 50% right now. They can't get any healing on him. He has no trinket. He had to trinket there at the same time. And the deep freeze comes out, but a nice pre-shift from Chaz. And the double fear, the triple fear actually coming out. And the pre-vanish on the Hodge, but the Hodge and the Horrifier overlap. They're going to get the trinket cloak anyways. The sacrifice coming out from Miley onto Thessia. This RMD needs to get offensive onto Thessia right now. There is wings available for Miley though. So it looks like if he does get out the CC, they're going to land it. Another pre-sacrifice comes out. That's the second sacrifice from Miley. The Frost Jaw to follow it up. He's choosing not to Aura Mastery that. It looks like they're going to be fine. There's no CC to follow up as the sacrifice does sit full on Thessia.
And Miley actually kept his cool. It saved a lot of cooldowns as they bring some pressure over to No Lifer. No Lifer forced to block first. He's actually choosing to come out of it early to try and pressure Thasia, and now forcing Thasia into his final ice block. Miley actually got locked on his heel there. He's temporarily trying to pick his team back up. And, you know, as I said, Miley was keeping his cool early on. Typically, we'd see maybe a Paladin pop his Avenging Wrath on those low HP Cyclones on Thasia, but Miley kept his cooldowns for that, and he was able to deal with this situation now. But we can see both teams. I feel like Kenitra Tigers may be in a better position as long as Chaz and Suchi are aware that he has no trinket and Cloak of Shadows. Maybe they're just going to wait for the Cloak of Shadows. It might be a smart move. We can see Thasia blinking in, looking for the Deep Freeze, looking for the Ring of Frost, and able to get it. They're going to shut him down with a Gouge, but Frosty was able to follow up with a Fear, and here's the setup onto Suchi. They're looking to try and end the game, but Chaz with the nice Dispel is going to break up that stun chain on Suchi and allow him to get some pressure here with his Shadow Dance. Not too much just yet. A cheap shot onto Miley, but No Lifer was unable to follow it up with a sheep, and his Shadow Dance actually going more defensively than offensively here. No Lifer blinking back with his team. Chaz choosing to trade out that Nature Swiftness and Iron Bark to save Suchi. We see Frosty and Stealth, though, looking for a sneak attack Fear. He's going to land a Fear onto 2 players. No Lifer choosing to trinket out right away, trying to defensively polymorph. A defensive smoke bomb, actually, as well, from Suchi. And Kenitra Tigers are playing very scared at the moment to try and stay alive. Thasia getting locked on that polymorph, which means that No Lifer should be able to get a CC for free right now. Lands the full sheep onto Miley. But a nice MD from Frosty is going to break it up, and Miley's going to bop himself out of the blind. Great shutdown from the Yacht boys, and Thasia should be able to survive. I mean, No Lifer's trying to burst him through. Suchi actually trading out Advantage to try and surprise attack Thasia, who has no more Icebox remaining. Miley needs to be careful here. Is he going to have to bubble a 1-second sheep? Miley barely getting that Avenging Wrath execution sense off to top him off, and now No Lifer in trouble. Down at 25%, Chaz caught into a silence on his trinket. No Lifer blocks. He's actually choosing to cancel his block once again to try and get some momentum here onto Thasia, as he did lock out Miley. I think he canceled his block and locked him on his heel. Really intense play from No Lifer, but unfortunately, it doesn't prove too fruitful. Suchi now pushing in with his Shadow Dance, and Thasia has another block, though, with his Cold Snap coming up, and suddenly the Yacht boys are very far ahead.
Yeah, it looks like this map choice wasn't that great for the Kenitra Tigers, because even though they did force those 2 blocks from Thessia, it's taken them so long to get another cooldown. Like, they're just able to run around the pillar. It's really hard for them to land too much CC onto Miley, who has just been lossing CC very, very well. And now it looks like even though the Kenitra Tigers trying to run away, the swap's coming out onto Chaz. The full Hodge, we do see the full dots, and the skin comes out. It looks like he's going to be okay for now, but he does have no skin and no trinket available. A nice sheep onto Akasuichi. He trinkets it. He really wants to be offensive right now. Can he get the kidney? But he can't really get anything done with his trinket. I feel like it might have been slightly wasted there. So that actually means that there's no trinket available for Suichi to peel Chaz on the next go, which means that they're so low on cooldowns, and this Shadow play who have got their cooldowns back, they do have that block, they have trinket, bubble, they have a lot of buttons to press. They're just going to run after Chaz. They're just going to run, try to get a CC on him. Maybe they can get a Fear, maybe they can get a Disarm or something, but they just want to get this go, and Chaz just trying to pre-hold himself as much as possible. They're just running, like they're trying to get away from the Shadow play right now. They know they don't have any cooldowns left. They need to try Turtle until the trinket comes up from Chaz there. He blinks away. He's trying to avoid the Fear from Prophecy, perhaps scared of that sneak attack Fear out of the Spectral guys. And they're just running from pillar to pillar to pillar. They just need to survive until Chaz's trinket comes up in 20 seconds. But the Shadow play's now finally called them. Ooh. They do get that triple Fear from Prophecy. Who are they looking at? They might be looking at Suichi. He has no trinket. It looks like they are going to go on to Chaz perhaps. Or I'm not actually sure. Yeah, it is Chaz. They do start it up with the Deep Freeze. He's down to 70%. The trinket is available in 5 seconds. The skin is up right now. He's down to 20%. He's just going to die, it looks like. And he does go down.
1 second on his trinket. I mean, I don't even know if trinketing would have been enough. They got a nice cross CC on Suchi, who had his dance to try and peel, but he just wasn't able to. So good polymorph from Thasia is going to cross CC the team, and Barkskin not going to be enough. The Yacht boys are going to crush Kenitra Tigers on their map pick, and I'm wondering if maybe the map pick ended up backfiring on them. I mean, they were trying to look for resets a lot, but the Yacht boys were just relentless, just staying on top of them and not letting them have a break or a breath to try and think about what they want to do. And they suddenly just became really far behind on cooldowns. And it's kind of weird how they ended up in that place, because I really felt like the Kenitra Tigers were ahead for the beginning parts of the match, and the Yacht boys just kind of extended until they had their cooldowns again.
Yeah. I think they must have just got a little bit frustrated because, yeah, like you say, they were so far ahead at the start of the game, but then they really struggled to get anything done, and it actually led to Akai Suichi trinketing a polymorph just to try to get something done with his DFA and his damage cooldown. So nice shutdown from Thessia. It did mean they, even after trinketing, didn't really get too much going, and they just didn't have anything left at the end. They even used the blink and stuff to cross that pillar, but it didn't. All it meant was that there was nothing available for the Fear. When Prophecy finally did reach them, he lands the triple Fear with no trinket on Chaz, no trinket on Sushi, and that's just game if that lands. Like, there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, just add a little bit of context that Akai Sichi is the rogue named Sichi, and Stone Kanav is Chaz. I know that some of you guys are asking me, which one's Chaz? Chaz is Stone Kanav. Am I pronouncing that correct?
Stoinkanov, yeah.
He wants to be called that?
Stoinkanov.
I think he's known as Chaz in the scene, and the rogue is Akai Suichi, which is quite a mouthful as well.
Yeah. But, yep, we're going to be getting into game number 4 here, I can count, out of this best of 5 series. And, you know, this Shatter play, or this Shadow Priest Frostmage Holy Paladin composition, they caught a little bit of stride here as they won 2 games in a row. now at this point. Wait, has it been? Yeah, Kenitra Tigers actually won on the Grand Arena. So that means they just have one more win to move forward here in this bracket. That means the Yacht boys could potentially be going to round 2, and Kenitra Tigers could be going to that lower bracket if they win this next game. But yeah, so just a little disclaimer, guys. I know that some of you guys were asking me about the donation goal and stuff like that. So yeah, that donation goal actually is the final prize pool of the entire season. So we're going to be hosting 5 of these tournaments throughout the entire season, and at the very end of the season, we're going to have a final tournament. The teams with the top 8 teams with the most GCD points earned from placing in GCD tournaments throughout the season will be invited to that final tournament, and that prize pool for that final tournament is going to be accumulated through the entire season. So you guys can actually see exactly where every cent is going to be going to that prize pool. But here we go. The next map is ready, and it is Tigers Peak. I will see you all in a hot minute. All right, they're sticking with the same compositions, and you know, I'm kind of happy about that because they do provide for some really close games at times, and I think both these teams definitely have the ability to adapt and to you know, make those split-second decisions and those crazy plays to give us some good games. But here we go, game number 4 has started.
Yeah, and Tigers Peak is more of a middle ground map, I think. Neither team going to be too heavily advantaged here. Kenitra Tigers not wanting to go for a reckless map or a bigger map. But they do pull Suchi out of south. Luckily, he was able to shadow step in and get the sap, and now they get triple crowd control. Kenitra Tigers looking good here in the opening stages of this match as the death from above connects onto Thasia, and he's actually forced to block, and he's going to trade out his cold snap as well. Wants to reset the cooldown as quickly as possible here. Full polymorph onto Miley, now caught into the frost jaw, rotating that polymorph over onto Frosty and blinding Miley. Great cross CC from Kenitra Tigers, forcing the blessing protection out now from Miley, and they're just going to clone up the Thasia here. Nice clone from Chaz. He's pulling back here with no lifer as well, looking to attack. Maybe they can go with Shadow Dance before Hypothermia fades, but it looks like the Yacht boys aren't going to let that happen as they move in. They get their Deep Freeze, they get their Polymorph, and force Suchi to Trinket and use his Cloak of Shadows. And as soon as that happens, they can just switch the pressure onto No Lifer if they want to. Looks like they're building up a little bit of damage. Here we can see the Devouring Plague used on him, a Silence over onto Chaz, and maybe this Silence could force a block. No Lifer taking a lot of damage. He's on the run, trying to get out of line of sight. A nice Iron Bark and S combo from Chaz is going to top off No Lifer, but now those cooldowns are no longer available for Suchi.
And that was really nicely played by No Lifer. He was spamming the sheeps onto Thessia and to Frosty. He's just stopping down as much damage as possible. But they actually get the sin and punishment onto Chaz. Is followed up by full sheep. So this could be trouble onto No Lifer. They could also try swapping up onto Switch. He's in Banish right now. But they actually using this to go offensive. They forced a disperse on Frosty. That was very well played by Kenitra Tigers, identifying their Druid was in CC and going offensive there to make sure they didn't have to use anything themselves. And now they're running away. Frosty's just chasing Stoinkov, trying to get that fear. And he lands the fear. That's going to be the ice block for No Lifer. The first block forced. Sushi was in that hodge there, couldn't do anything to peel, but he didn't get swapped to, which is good because it means they're going to get closer to that cloak cooldown, which is up in 30 seconds. The Kenitra Tigers need to get offensive now. They're just kind of sitting back on their pillow. We've seen this a few times. They're struggling to get in. The full clone onto Thessia should open up a swap to Frosty, though. They really do look like they want Frosty. I wonder if a swap to Thessia here would be quite good. He's in the middle of the map. They could maybe get the girl on him. The pre-pop coming out from Miley onto Frosty means that he should be able to survive, and there's a nice fear, but the fear actually doesn't really hit anyone, so not that great from Frosty, but they're going to force a second block because of that. They didn't get their offensive go. The Yacht boys there messing up a little bit, even though the pre-bob came out from Miley. We see the smoke bomb from Suichi defensively. He pre-smoke bombed the Hodge. Maybe he's going to be able to hold everything because of this. Chaz might not even have to use his trinket. That's so important for this team that they did manage to get that smoke bomb. Very well played there by Akai Suichi. And the shutdown sheeps coming out from No Lifer. He's just shutting down as much damage as he can. He knows how much damage the Shadow can put out. And now it's their turn to go offensive. The full deep freeze onto Miley is followed up by the sheep. The cyclone onto Frosty. This is a 3v1 situation. What can Thessia do? But it looks like he's doing just fine by himself. Akai Suichi put into the sheep. sheep in the deep rough onto Chaz. They're going to swap that around. Very well played by Thessia, setting up that CC whilst he was alone, essentially. The full fair comes out off that, the hodge onto Akatsuichi, and No Life is in trouble. He has no blocks available. He came out there. Is he just going to die here?
Chaz trying to save him though with the NS and the Iron Bar. It could have been a close call, easily could have been his life, and now with no blocks remaining, No Lifer has to be very careful moving forward in this match, with Dispersion coming up on Frosty, with Cold Snap coming up on Athasia. This is looking like the Yacht Boys are going to take the series. They basically have the game in their hands at this point, unless No Lifer can stay alive at least for another minute to get his Cold Snap. No Lifer has 5 icicles. Maybe they can counterattack while they push in, and here's the push from the Yacht Boys to try and take the game. Double fear, triple fear out from Frosty. Here's the Horrify setup over onto No Lifer. He's going to trick it out. He goes for the counter spell, but Chaz is forced to trick it out of that Ring of Frost regardless. We see No Lifer blinking. Now trying to maybe Blazing Speed back, maybe trying to get some aggression rolling here onto Frosty as he's caught into that full kidney shot. Are they going to swap onto Thasia is the question here. Seems like they're splitting their damage a little bit for now, but he does have a block available. He just needs to be careful. Miley is pre-sacrificing the Polymorph. Great play from Miley, breaking himself out of that CC so he can access his Avenging Wrath and top off Thasia. Really well played from Miley. Now with that aggressive move, they need to push forward. They need to finish off No Lifer. They got 33 more seconds with no blocks, no trinket onto Stokanov. If they can get any CC onto him, they could finish the game. And Stokanov knows that. He's blinking away, trying to get out of line of sight. A kidney shot on Frosty. Frosty's going to trick it out. Full fist adjust onto Sushi. They've got good cross CC. Frosty's in position to land a fear if he doesn't get the Polymorph. There's the Polymorph. They connected. They need to finish off No Lifer. Chaz with a great pre-Iron Bark on No Lifer, and that Iron Bark is really his saving grace. The defensive fear onto Frosty as well. No bops to remove it. No trinket as well. Great read actually from Suchi to use that blind onto Frosty. They're going to keep No Lifer alive.
Yeah, that was the kill attempt for the Yacht Boys. The block's now back available for No Life. He does have that snap, and they're going to use this to go offensive onto Thessia. The shield proc does mean that he's going to be okay for now, but the DR deep onto Miley. Will he land the sheep off this? It looks promising, but he doesn't quite get it. The sheep's coming out from Thessia, shutting down No Lifer as much as possible, but they do have these cooldowns available now. The fact that the Yacht Boys didn't get the kill there is very important, and the Kenitra Tigers, again, they're just going to pull back. We do see dampening starting to stack up now, and the snap came out from No Lifer there, so he is going to have that block cooldown ticking. He does have one available, of course, right now, and Frosty's looking to play offensive. They do get the kidney shot onto him. A nice sacrifice coming out from Miley. Miley always on point with these sacrifices. Are they going to swap it up onto Thessia? He blinks out of the cheap shot, but a nice sheep from No Life and make sure that he's not able to shut him down in any way. That allows Akatsuichi to connect back onto Thessia. The Groat comes out, and that was on the deep freeze there. So that means there's no CC coming off this deep freeze for the Yacht Boys. The Kenitra Tigers really need to use this offensively. A nice iron back from Chaz. The preemptive iron back, but he's actually silenced with NS off. Is he going to get the NS off? It looks like he's going to. He gets the NS, but they do get the hodge on him for it. So No Life is still on 30%. Looks like he's in a bit of trouble. They do get the sheep off that nice trinket there from Chaz, able to keep his team offensive, but Kenitra Tigers really need to get something done with this. They're not landing any CC onto Miley. He's just lossing, and they're doing such a good job of stopping these deep sheeps. It's really bad for the Kenitra Tigers, who just aren't getting much done offensively right now.
Yeah, the Yacht Boys are still looking pretty comfortable. Here's another setup attempt from Kenitra Tigers. They land the sheep. They land the clone. That's the cross CC that they need to keep getting every go. Miley actually choosing to bubble out of that CC. He knows that his team is very far ahead. He wants to trade out that bubble to try and stay aggressive here. Stokanov knows that. He's pulling back. Suchi and Stealth now pulling back with No Lifer as well. They're just on the run, cutting in circles, doing laps basically on the map, trying to keep the Yacht Boys off of their face. We can see Chaz actually maybe sitting down for a drink. He doesn't want to lose because of mana here. Here's the setup, though, out from Suichi. I believe he traded out a Vanish, and they're going to get a block for that. Well done. They actually land the sheep. Maybe they can keep this momentum going. Unfortunately, that Frozen Orb out from No Lifer is going to break his own sheep, and that means that Miley will be able to connect some healing here as he throws out that Fist of Justice. I'm not sure if Suchi actually pre-cloaked the Fist of Justice, but it did end up landing. Regardless, they forced a block from No Lifer. I believe it was MD'd by Frosty, but there's a kidney shot to prevent any damage. Miley going to pop himself to break out of that blind and make sure that his team is safe here. Still with no blocks now on No Lifer, no trinket onto Stokanov. This could easily be the game. Suchi with the defensive smoke on maybe could be the MVP, though. We saw him do it earlier. If Kenny do it again, he needs to be aware that that is what needs to happen to survive, because No Lifer really has nothing else. We can see Stokanov going for a re-stealth, trying to prevent the setup here as the Shadow Dance comes out, and Kenitra Tigers are suddenly reversing this around, but I think they broke another polymorph over onto Miley, and now with that sacrifice up, they're going to break the CC, and because of that broken polymorph, the Shadow Dance goes basically wasted.
Yeah, nice sacrifices coming out from Miley, really shutting down the CC chain there. Even though they landed stuff onto Prophecy, Miley was able to avoid the CC once again, and that means that Thessia is going to be fine for now, although there is no bubble, no bops available, so maybe the Kenitra Tigers can just win this game kind of with damage. A nice form comes out from Chaz. It means that the Rob's only available, but it can't be stopped, so he has to trinket out of that. He gets the Iron back onto No Lifer. He really wants his team to be offensive right now. He also gets the Cyclone onto Prophecy. Really well played by Chaz there, and he pushes him for the bash. Is he going to get the Cyclone onto Miley? It looks like he might have faked the CS. Oh no, there wasn't a CS available for Thessia, but he does get the Cyclone. Chaz pretty much soloing this entire setup. Is he able to get the reclaim? Doesn't look like it, but they might get the block anyways. There's no block. There is a block available. He's down to 20%. The bomb comes out. There's slightly overlap with the full sheep on Miley. Although I'm not sure how, but that sheep did break, looks like. So the DR sheep followed up. They get the block anyways. So this is good for the Kenitra Tigers. The swap coming up possibly onto Chaz here. We do see the disarm into the Hodge. It looks like he's down to 90%. He doesn't have trinket available, but they do get the bark skin. It looks like he's going to be able to survive with this. And it is. Oh wow! The Shadow Dance coming up from Sweetchi does finish off this year.
Kenitra Tigers reverse the aggression of the Yacht Boys around in the final moments of that game, and maybe Stokanov baiting them, like blinking in, going for a bash clone that triggered the Yacht Boys to say, hey, what are you doing here? Like, we can kill you. And then maybe baiting them to swap onto him. And then during that time, Sweetchi saw that, okay, you're not CCing me, you're paying too much attention to my Druid. I'm just going to kill you while you're going aggressive on him and turn it around. Because what's interesting about these comps is if one team is always running and in the position of running, it's actually really hard to kill them. But as soon as they're going in aggressive and pushing forward, then it suddenly becomes really easy to kill them. So because they were attacking Stokanov, the Resto Druid, they were in a position where they weren't kiting finally, and the Kenitra Tigers could just say, hey, I can finally do damage to you and hit you because you're not running away from me. And it just instantly kills them.
Something else to note, man, is that every single time Sweetchi offensively vanishes, they get a block. Every time. It's like clockwork. It's almost like a vanished death from above, and that's a block, man. But there we go. We have a tied up series between Yacht Boys and Kenitra Tigers here. It's 2-2 and a best of 5. That means match point is up next. Now, the Yacht Boys did just lose there to Kenitra Tigers, so they are going to have the map choice and composition advantage if they so choose to utilize it. But going into the last map here, what choice is the Yacht? What are you guys anticipating here for the next map?
Well, maybe they picked Tolvaron so that the Yacht Boys couldn't pick it.
Oh,
does that even make sense to what I just said?
Yeah, that does. So the mind games, the map mind games.
The hardest out of the way.
Yeah.
Like they're like, okay, well, we probably shouldn't win on this map anyway, so let's just get it out of the way on our pick, so that they can't use it on the final map, so that we maybe have a little bit of a better chance. Because, to be honest, with Tiger's Peak's gone, I mean, they could go Dalaran. Or have we played Dalaran?
Dalaran's gone too. The only two maps are Blades Edge and Ruin.
Yeah,
they're both risky maps, I think, for both teams.
Yeah, you have to think the way Kenitra Tigers are playing right now, they're getting a lot of these resets. So normally I would say perhaps Blades Edge for the Shadow, because you can get such nice fears on the top of the bridge there. But I think Kenitra Tigers might even like that map just because they can drop down all the time, get these resets they love so much. But on Ruins, you can't really do that. So I think if you're the Yacht Boys, you say, well, we're getting ahead in the game quite often, but we're getting screwed kind of by these resets from Kenitra Tigers. Maybe you just pick Ruins and you run after Chaz the whole game, try your very best to get as much pressure as possible, but they're getting so much, Miley's able to lost CC so much on other maps, maybe it would be harder there, so it's such a tough pick. It's such a difference in maps. You have the big open map and then you have the quite small map, so what do you pick?
I don't know, but I'm excited. This has been a great series so far. We are going into match point between the Yacht Boys and Kenitra Tigers. The loser of this map will drop down to that lower bracket. They're not out of the tournament completely, but going through that lower bracket to get to the finals is a much harder road. You have to play an entirely additional series to get there, and against some very good teams. The teams that get knocked down from the semifinals, for example. But we're going to find out the decisions of both of these teams very soon from that admin, aka Clutter. As she communicates to these teams, and we'll be jumping into these games. So just a reminder, guys, we are going to be going through all of round 1 today, as well as lower bracket round 1 and upper bracket round 2. That's going to all happen today. The conclusion of the entire tournament will happen on Sunday at 6:30 p.m. Central European time, and that's 12:30 p.m. Eastern time, and I think that's 9:30 a.m. Pacific time. But yeah, this is our very first European Pro League tournament so far, and I have to say these games are super exciting. And this is round 1 of the tournament, but it looks like they're actually going to be choosing Ruins of Lordaeron for their map choice instead of Blade's Edge, which actually comes as a really big surprise to me. But here we go. The first thing that I think of when I think that they're going to Ruins of Lordaeron, maybe that's going to make it easier for Frosty to land Fears?
Yeah,
I think
they
is pretty easy too.
Yeah.
I think they just want to stop these constant resets from the Kenitra Tigers. Like whenever the Kenitra Tigers don't have trinkets or blocks, they just kind of run. And maybe on this map they feel like it's easier for them to chase them. But I think they could get exposed a little bit by No Lifer. If they do charge in, then they're going to charge right into No Lifer's spam sheeps. So we'll see how it pays out for them. But I think that's probably the reasoning behind it. All I can say is I'm really excited, but these games can get so fast paced that you don't want to make a mistake now. You've come to 2-2, like both these teams, they know they can get one shot, there's 160k eviscerates, but on the other side you have the shadow play pumping out insane damage as well. Like both teams could die before cooldowns, they can die if they make a mistake, get sheeped on a trinket or something like that. You don't want that to be you. You definitely don't want that to be you.
It's not as simple to say either that, oh, if we play defensive the entire match, we can just win like that. You can't in this specific kind of matchup. Both teams need to know when to attack, they need to know when to run, and if they mistake one for the other, Deja dies in game number 4. So it's very tense for the decision making for the teams. I'm curious to see how they're going to play it out. It seems like the Yacht boys are kind of reluctant. They're going to play the advantage of the map. They're sitting in the room with a nice cheeky Mindseer on the water elemental blocking the doorway, and Thasia's kind of micromanaging that water elemental to try and prevent them from coming in stealth, which means that No Lifer is exposed now. No Lifer is the only member visible right now to the Yacht boys. Maybe they're just going to send the water elemental right on him with the Mindseer. Looks like that's what they're trying to do, and they are no longer going to be able to get a sap. No Lifer maybe trying to build up some icicles, not able to get it. We can see actually a stampeding roar to break No Lifer out of a stealth there, or out of that route as he went for an invis, and it looks like Kenitra Tigers are looking for a re-stealth, but that Mindseer on Thasia is actually going to pull Chaz out from stealth as he displaces back into the room. He could have been an opening target for the Yacht boys, but suddenly the Kenitra Tigers have turned this completely around on Thasia with cross EC onto Miley and Frosty. A lot of damage following it up on Thasia. He's going to try and blink away, but he's still taking quite a bit of damage. He gets gripped, but he's forced to block regardless. Now the Yacht boys, though, have landed a sheep of their own, bringing some pressure onto No Lifer. They need to force a block if they want to stay ahead in this series, but they're not even going to get the block. They get the Iron Bark NS instead. Luckily, Frosty did chain that into the full fear, and maybe they can get a little bit more. They get the ice block with the full fear onto Chaz, but Mass Dispel removes that block. Maybe they're looking to try and burst him down early on here. We can see Heart of the Wild popped by Stokanov to try and get some extra healing. Looks like they might set up onto Suchi potentially, but putting on that Polymorph DR means they cannot horrify him, so I would expect them to continue going after No Lifer here. But we see a setup onto Thasia with a smoke bomb. He's down to half HP. How is he going to recover? He tries to go for a defensive sheep, but he gets locked out on it, and he's still taking quite a bit of pressure. Miley forced to pop his Avenging Wrath, pops himself out of the blind so he can continue healing with the Avenging Wrath, and he stabilizes Thasia.
And Melee used a lot of cooldowns there, though. He trinketed the sheep and then he bopped the blind. He also used his Wings NS to stabilize Thessia's HP, so that's a lot of cooldowns gone. Only really bubble available for him now. And it looks like they're swapping it over onto No Lifer. The full Hodge coming onto Chaz and the deep coming onto Sushi. A nice adaptation from this team. They do land the sheep off the Hodge. No Lifer down to 70%. Looks like he's just lossing around the tomb quite awkwardly for this team. Sushi's out of CC now, and Iron Bark comes out. There's no re-sheep available. Thanks to the sheeps on Prophecy, there's no fair either. Thessia now into the Groat. It looks like they're trying to swap it up onto him. A nice sacrifice coming from Miley. Can they get the Patron out? You just look at Thessia's buffs. He has 4 buffs right now, 5 buffs right now, so they will be unlikely to get that sacrifice. No Lifer low on mana, so they're just going to sheep him up instead. But another good shutdown from the Yacht boys, thanks to the sacrifice from Miley. But they land the sheep later, and it looks like they might swap it up onto Prophecy right now. No, they're still going for Thessia. The DR bash onto Prophecy. Can they land the Cyclone off there? It gets locked by Thessia. Well played by him, but he's into the kidney shot. The DFA comes out. No cooldowns. Really looks like they're going to be forced to. The silence onto Chaz. We see the Divine Star in the air. No Lifer taking a lot of damage right now. He's trying to kite away, but he's down to 30%. There's no NS available. The double fair comes out. Very well played by Prophecy, who pretty much solo forces this block. The MD does get shut down by Suichi, though. It looks like they can actually land the sheep off there. No Lifer could be in a lot of trouble here. The 3-second sheep, they need to stop the resheep. A Garrod comes out from Sushi. Nicely done by him, shutting down everything here. And they're going to force the bubble out from Miley because of that.
I kind of like the bubble from Miley here to stay aggressive. Now that No Lifer has no blocks remaining, the Yacht Boys could burst him down pretty quickly. And Suchi with his trinket, Stokanov with his trinket, they need to be the ones that save No Lifer. No Lifer's really relying on them in this position. And there's the full sheet. Actually, not full. They kind of messed up their DR here onto Stokanov. They're actually switching the pressure onto Suchi, but he can just trade out his Cloak of Shadows. And that was a bit of a botched setup from the Yacht Boys. And now Kenitra Tigers are trying to punish him for it as they set up over onto Thasia, looking to get his second ice block. But Thasia with a nice counterspell onto that Polymorph is breaking up the CC, but it is forced to block nonetheless. We see Stokanov moving in. He lands the full clone onto Miley. They're trying to keep this chain going. Frosty dispels the clone, but into a full sheep. Perfectly timed Polymorph from No Lifer. They could easily end the game. Thasia blinking back here, using that cold snap, trying to get a bit of an extra heal for himself. Suchi just not able to connect. Good defensive Polymorphs from Thasia onto Suchi are preventing him from killing him. And now Miley should be able to stabilize him. He has Avenging Wrath. He's being greedy, though. He chose not to use it right away. Instead, going for that Fist of Justice over onto Stokanov. Nice fear. Unfortunately, going to fear him right into the ring at the beginning of the CC, which means that No Lifer should be able to escape. He's got his cold snap back. And from that botch setup earlier, No Lifer should be able to stabilize. He might need to trade his block, though, on this silence. So much damage falling out, down to 13%. Does trade out the block for both Ice Novas. A nice Master Spell out from Frosty will remove that ice block. No Lifer on the run, blinking back to the cart here, where it seems that the Kenitra Tigers are stationed up. We see Suchi, though, going for that Vanish play. Full Deep Freeze into the Sheep, full Kidney into the Clone. Great setup from Kenitra Tigers. And Thasia actually doesn't have any cooldowns left. If they can connect, they could finish him off. Shadow Dance comes out, but a nice defensive fear from Frosty onto both DPS. Suchi and No Lifer unable to attack. Well done from Frosty, and the Yacht Boys survive.
Yeah, the Yacht Boys played really offensive there. Thessia using the block and Miley using the trinket. They really went for that kill on No Lifer, who unfortunately still had a block available. And that then instantly meant the Kenitra Tigers could turn it around. But yeah, we do see that defensive fear. But they're still in so much trouble. There are no breaks available for Miley. And Frosty doesn't have his trinket either. No blocks available, of course, for Thessia. So this cross CC, if they can keep landing it, they're going to win the game. The reshape comes out. A nice fear onto Chaz means that there shouldn't be any clones to follow that up. Frosty again being the MVP, shutting down all this CC, and they get the sheep off that onto Chaz. Sushi's in a lot of trouble, no trinket available. The Chaz does say trinket's available. It's not enough. He gets silenced on his trinket. The Iron Bark not enough to save Suichi, and Suichi goes down.
Yeah, and that was a trinket off of air.
Oh
That was not a deep freeze sheep. Thasia just sneaked in a sheep. And that sneaky sheep is going to get them the series.
I'm
not sure. When Suichi died, he had Cloak available, but maybe it just came off. I didn't quite see, but I guess we'll see on the replay. I wonder if he had Cloak available there, if the damage was just too high. Maybe Chaz called that he was going to be fine because of that Trinket Ironbark, but I think Cloak might have been available for Suichi there. I'm not sure, and that's really unfortunate if it was.
Yeah, the Hodge into the Horrified. He caught the Ironbark, but that silence to follow it up, it's just so much damage, and Kenitra Tigers will fall to the Yacht Boys in a close nail-biter series, 3-2. They'll move on there in that upper bracket as Kenitra drops down to the lower. Taking a quick look at that bracket, Speechless and the Yacht Boys have now moved forward, and we're going to be jumping into the next series. I mean, so far, all of these teams have really shown us a lot of great plays, and I really haven't seen like just an unbelievable, like, scary team that can just take everyone down. I feel like it's a very even tournament in terms of abilities, but we're gonna